do this. Thank you all.
Thanks, Juan.
All right, here we are. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for December. It's good to see all your faces again. And thank you for being here. Appreciate your attendance. Just to get started, I believe Kathy's done taking roll call, correct?
Yes.
All right. It is my understanding that we don't have any public comment, but I just want to be sure, Lynn or Rachel or Juan, have any of you received any requests for public comment today? I don't want to skip that if that has changed.
People can raise their hand. There are people on this call.
We do have several people joining us as attendees, so I'm happy to go over the instructions if you're okay with that, Madam Chair. Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
I'll share my screen here, and there you go. And I believe, oh, 1 second. And so, okay, so I believe you're seeing my screen right now with the instructions for participating. So if you are joining us to provide public comment during this meeting, please follow the instructions that you're seeing on the screen. Use the raise hand function that is located in the middle of your screen. Click on that, we'll see your hand, and we'll call on you in the order that we receive your hand. If you are joining us by phone, please use the keypad on your telephone and dial the star key followed by the number 9. Then same thing, we'll see your hand being raised. We'll call on the last 4 digits of your phone number, and then we'll provide you all the ability to unmute yourself once we call on your name. So, and then you'll be able to provide your comment. Just give us your first and last name, and then provide us your comment. And unless we want to have a time limit, Madam Chair, I'm not sure if that's something that, if we want 3 minutes or.
We usually limit it to 3 minutes, and most everyone complies with that, or it takes even less time. So if we can stick with 3 minutes, I think that would be appropriate.
All right, wonderful. So, and at this time, I am not seeing any hands being raised. Same thing with our phone participants. I'm not seeing any hands. So I guess it's safe to say that there's no public participation at this time.
Great, thank you. I did not see any hands raised either. Thank you, Juan. I really appreciate your help with us on these meetings. Your input is always so helpful.
Absolutely, always our pleasure.
So with no public comment, next on the agenda would be the minutes, and they were distributed to us prior to this meeting. And I want to ask if there are any corrections to the minutes, if anyone or everyone had a chance to review, if there are any corrections to the minutes or any comments. And I will look for your hand to be raised. Right now, I'm not seeing any hands or comments. So with that,
Cindy,
yes.
Sorry, it looks like Allison has a hand up. Sorry about that.
Allison, where are you on my screen? I do not see your hand. So thank you, Lynn, for saying something. Allison, please unmute your, yes.
I was, and I joined not through a personal link because I didn't get one for this meeting for some reason. And so maybe I'm not popping up for that reason. And I didn't use my little Zoom hand. I just used my actual hand. So that could be the problem. Anyway, it didn't look like there were questions. So I was just going to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented, but maybe Kathy had a question. I did see her hand go up.
No, I thought it was to approve the minutes. So how about if I second?
Great.
The approval.
Great. Okay, so Allison, I was looking for the Zoom hand, so I will look for other actual hands. But so we have a motion to approve in a second. So all in favor of approving the prior meeting's minutes, if you can raise your hand when I call on you, that way, because we're virtual, Kathy can document that. So I'm going to call in the order I see on the screen. Priscilla Buck is an aye. Joanna Gardner, sorry, I said your name wrong. That's an aye. Kathy Austin? Approve. Ian Schmidt, please. Thank you. Approved. Allison? Approved. Matt Martino? Approved. Heather Simmons. Approved. And Keith Wooden. Approved. The ayes have it. I believe that is everyone that I see. Did I miss anyone? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have some wonderful presentations coming our way, but I think before we start that, I would like to put out the conflict of interest. So Elizabeth, if I miss any verbiage here, please step in, but I would like to ask the committee if there is any actual or potential conflict of interest with the proposals today, and also future down. Amy with CORE is going to answer and provide more information on the motion that was made at last month's meeting that we're going to proceed with. So I will go probably in the same order I just went if my screen doesn't change. And I will ask each one of you if there is a actual or potential conflict of interest. So Priscilla Buck, you are first on in my list.
No conflict of interest.
Thank you.
So do you
Joanna
guys see two images of me?
Yes. Do you have a twin that we didn't know about?
I don't know why I have two. I can't get the second one off. My apologies.
All right. It's all good. All right. Joanna Gardner.
I have no conflict of interest.
Thank you. Kathy Austin.
I have no conflict of interest of any kind.
Thank you. Ian Smith.
I have no conflict of interest.
Allison Hohengarten.
I have a potential conflict of interest with CORE Community Land Trust just because our firm does work for them.
Thank you. Matt Martino.
I have a potential conflict of interest with CORE. If their home buyers choose to pursue financing with me, I may be working with them.
Thank you, Matt. Heather Simmons.
I have no conflict of interest.
Thank you. Keith Wooden.
I have a potential conflict of interest with CORE as we're a partner in one of their developments, as well as presenting today will be my boss for an application for funds.
Great. Thank you, Keith. And myself, Cindy King, I do not have a conflict of interest, for the record. Thank you. So what we are planning on, what we allow for is 5 minutes for the presentation. So those of you who are presenting, if you can keep your presentations to 5 minutes, that would be super helpful. And then 10 minutes for questions from the committee. And I think that'll manage our time really well. Please, committee, don't be shy with questions. Please raise your hand and we'll make sure we get those questions answered. So Rachel or Lynn, do you have anything else to add to maybe make that abrupt presentation that I just did sound more warm and fuzzy?
I like it. Short and to the point. That's good stuff, Cindy. Thank you. So at this point, we have a very conservative funding number. As you all may know, our process is to allow the full calendar year of revenue to be credited more or less until we give you a final number that we're working with. But at this point, our conservative estimate is 1.2 million that we'll have available for this round, the folks that you'll hear from today. The sample questions that you all were provided are just that. They're sample questions. You probably have far better questions in your brain. Go ahead and ask those. These are just here in case it helps you get conversations started or to draw out components of the application that we felt you should know about, whether they were gaps or whether they were complementary pieces that we thought were important to understand. Depending on your deliberation timing, the awards for Affordable Housing Fund will go to council, most likely that second meeting in February, the second council meeting in February. And there's a chance, depending on how long the deliberations take, that would be the first meeting in March. The reason that we have this timing that seems kind of early, particularly with CDBG, is because we are trying to line up to the state's funding calendar. So Oregon Housing and Community Services, the state housing finance agency, is getting ready to release their NOFA, or their application for tax credits and other types of funding, pretty soon. So our goal is to have decisions made before those applications are due to the state, so that folks can count any awards that you may make as part of their sort of leverage and secured funding. So that's why we're doing this at this point in the year. In addition, you all will be scoring these applications, and you have those scoring sheets available. Those we have decided not to make due until after you hear the CDBG presentations in January. The reason for that is that a couple of these proposals bridge both CDBG and Affordable Housing Fund, and what you hear in CDBG may or may not change sort of what you think is the best allocation. That said, we would strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to complete those scoring sheets as soon as possible after this meeting, so that you have something to work with, particularly since there's a couple holidays in between now and then. Very easy to forget all the fine details that folks are going to present to you today. So please do at least pencil those scores in if you can, and then we'll remind you of this, but your deadline, your official final deadline, is going to be January 22nd. So that's within range shortly after that January meeting for AHAC. And that gives us time to plug them into a spreadsheet. You guys will be anonymized to some degree, so that you can look at all those scores without sort of identifying who's doing what. And that'll be a good starting point for discussions in January. Any questions at this point for staff as to how the process works? Okay, just thank you for all of your energy. I know you got quite a reading assignment with this first block of applications. There's more coming pretty soon with the CDBG apps. Really, really exciting pool of potential candidates, and I'm just very excited to see how they present today. And I think we have, you're going to have a very tough decision to make. So with that, Cindy, I'll hand it back. Oh, Kathy, yes.
Quick question. Do we have any idea how much CDBG funds we're going to have?
Rachel, have you pulled that official number yet?
So we never know what we're going to get from HUD until March or April. However, we make a prediction based on previous year's award, and that would be about $155,000 for services, for public services, and about $275,000 for program.
Was that second number 250?
About 275,000.
We will most likely ask or advise you to make some contingency plans with CDBG. That proved to be a good thing in past years, especially if there's more federal relief that's issued. There's a very strong chance that we'll get additional CDBG funds. And so having some ideas of where that would go if we do get more is going to be helpful at the next meeting. For today, it's just Affordable Housing Fund. We will get you the final number by your January meeting, possibly a little bit ahead of time for what we're working with. But for now, just estimate conservatively 1.2 million.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, back to you, Cindy. Oh, and Rachel will be running the presentation. She's going to be the one sharing her screen so that applicants can just go ahead and present without having to worry. And then Ian, is this for me or?
Thank you. We, in our meeting last year at the courthouse, I believe, there was a table that was up on the screen that I think was helpful for our panelists, just in terms of being able to visualize all these numbers simultaneously. Is that something staff can put together and send out?
Yeah, we have it. And the question is, Rachel, can you pull that and display it? Or maybe what we could do is do it as we switch over from presenter to presenter, because I believe everybody has slides today, or almost everybody. So
do we need it? Thank you. Now or for deliberations?
Yeah, I would think we only need it for deliberations.
Because we're not going to make any funding decisions today.
No, I was going to follow along on my copy if you hadn't made one. So for deliberations, it's fine.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you, Ian. That's what I thought you intended. Yeah, we had, when we were doing deliberations, we had the table up, and then we could, you know, Rachel would plug in the funding, the dollar amounts, and then we could all see it really easily. That is a super helpful tool, Ian, you are correct. And I bet they can figure something out for us when we get to deliberations in this late winter, early spring. Yeah, thank you.
All right, back to you, Cindy. Thank you.
Real quick, sorry, excuse me.
Yes, Rachel.
Kathy, can you, or Juan?
I already moved over Eric and Peggy. Well, not moved them over. I unmuted them. I didn't move them to panelists. Do you want them as a panelist?
Not necessarily, but I think Central Oregon Veterans Outreach needs to be moved over.
Where are they? Oh, there.
In attendees.
Got it.
Thank you.
Great. So what I'm going to do, and I think this is the plan, the agenda that you got, that is the order of the presentations we will have. Sometimes it's different order, but as I understand it, we're in that order. So first up is Central Oregon Veterans Village, Bend Heroes Foundation. I believe that's Eric Tobiasen is here to do that presentation. So Eric, whenever you're ready.
Fantastic. I will get my timer going here and we can get rolling.
Thank you so much.
So you probably remember us from the May AHF allocation. We are building a tiny shelter community near the sheriff's office. Let's go to the next slide, please, Rachel. 15 shelters and a community building. It's a public-private partnership with the county, the city of Bend, and the private sector, two of us nonprofits, the Bend Heroes Foundation and Central Oregon Veterans Outreach. We intend to end homelessness for our veterans. Here in the county, we think we have over 100 homeless veterans. And if we can take care of 15 or so a year, we believe we can end homelessness in the next decade. We continue to work in the camps, Kovo does, and it's obviously very cold these days. So we're very, very motivated to get the project going, and the AHF commitment would be huge to finalizing our project. Let's go to the next slides, and I'll just kind of go through some of this is just refresher. Kovo will be the service partner, providing all the case management, and that's really what is the successful part of the program. We can build the shelters, but if we don't provide the wraparound services, we won't solve the barriers to homelessness. So Kovo will be providing ongoing case management day in and day out with weekly and monthly plans for the homeless and identifying the barriers and removing those over time. That's financial counseling, behavioral health, physical health, job training, and ultimately housing placement. We think the average homeless veteran would stay here about a year, but we allow up to 2 years if there's significant issues that need to be resolved. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. So this is what our overall design looks like, bit of a cartoon. We have some detailed designs I can show you here in a second, but this is the public safety campus. There's about an acre of vacant land that the county has committed to us for 10 years for $0. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the civil engineering that we submitted to Joe McClay and his team. And if we hit the next button, you'll get a nice green approved. Oh, see, look, I did the animation. That was worth it. All right, so this is our entitlement. We got our building permit approved for the site work, so that would be the temporary power and the grading. So let's go to the next slide. This is our shelter design. This was designed by Hayden Homes for us. About 150 square feet, a little bit smaller than last time I showed you the designs, but we've optimized it. You can see a toilet, a sink, bed, a table for two, no kitchen, of course. We have a community building for that. And then a front porch. So should be pretty aesthetically nice neighborhood and, pride of ownership for our homeless veterans. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is our community building. So you can see in the center there would be the kitchen and dining and great room area. We have 3 case management offices, 3 restrooms, one of them ADA compliant, and then a multi-purpose office boardroom type in the lower left corner. This is similar to the Clackamas design. They had 2 modular units and we've put it into one. Well, I should mention the laundry also and showers. Okay, let's go to the next slide. That's what our community building looks like on the outside. It's being provided by Homes Direct, and a big chunk of the affordable housing fee will go towards this structure, acquiring this structure. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Fundraising is going great. As I mentioned, public-private partnerships. So on the private sector, we're 100% raised. If we divide our budget by thirds, it's about a $250,000 raise for each third. We sold out on our commitments for the tiny shelters, $10,000 a unit in about 2 weeks. We've had several grants come in and lots of in-kind services from the building community, whether that's architecture, civil engineering, EE, or project management. It's been a great working with our builders and engineers. 100% of the services have been donated so far for the project. Deschutes County committed $150,000, and like I said, the $0 per year lease for the next decade. And then here in the city of Bend, we're hoping this affordable housing permit or fund request gets approved, and that would fulfill the construction budget for the project. Next slide. That should be it. Well, my 5 minutes is up, but we're ready to break ground here in the next week or so, and we should be putting shelters in place in January so that we can begin operations hopefully in the month of January and move 4 to 12 homeless veterans out of the woods as soon as possible. The community building goes in the spring, and we are completely done about May 1st. That should be it. Next slide should say questions. Perfect. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I am gathering my questions, but I want to put it out to the committee. Right now, I'm looking for Zoom hands raised for any questions. If anyone on the committee has any questions.
This is Heather. I don't know how to raise my Zoom hand.
That's okay. Now my screen changed, so now I can see you. So Heather, you have the floor. Go ahead. Thank you.
I'm wondering how the funding or how the city would be repaid. I didn't quite see that level of detail in the application.
Are you referring to the loan terms, Heather? Like, okay. Eric, do you have any information on that? Because I didn't see it either.
No, my intent is not to repay the city. Forgivable loan is one of the potential terms of affordable housing loan over, I think it's 20 years or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're expecting to receive.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, we will have greenhouses on the property, and perhaps there is a commercial opportunity, for income, but we thought that would be, good for the overall program, to fund ongoing efforts of the program. But, we could probably construct a repayment plan if that was necessary.
Thank you, Eric. I'm looking for any other questions. Barb, I see your hand.
Mind if I ask a question? That'd be very nice.
I think so.
Hi, Eric. The community building has 3 case management offices, if I remember. Do you imagine that those offices would just be for serving Veterans Village, or what do you imagine for those offices? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, Barb. In general, we thought that would be adequate for both the case managers on site and any visiting service providers, whether they're healthcare providers or financial counselors, those types of folks. But it's not out of the question that they could be used for other nonprofit partners that, would like to use it. I mean, it certainly, I doubt they'll always be full. So yeah, the more efficient use of space, the better as far as we're concerned.
Thank you so much. That's great.
Of course.
Hey, Cindy, I had a question, but I can't find my little raise my hand icon
I see
either.
You're live. I see you. Thank you, Keith.
Okay. Hey, Eric, I had a quick question for you related to land use, which normally seems to be some of the biggest challenges for these type of developments. Have you guys gone through an entitlement process? I saw that you said, for building permits and such, but from the planning side, has the city approved I mean, not just the community structure, but if they approved kind of the siting of these temporary structures, or kind of the ones like you described there that aren't connected to like utilities,
Yes.
water, sewer, that stuff. Have you gone through that process?
Yeah, I see Lynn nodding her head too. I can't see my image, by the way. Hopefully my head's not off screen, but yeah, so House Bill 4212 mitigated all of the development related issues and zoning related issues. So the city of Bend came up with the emergency shelter siting application, which we applied for and were approved on November 11th. So the project is approved. The designs as planned are approved, but we do need to go through building permits for each of the elemental structures. So the shelter needs to be approved once the system comes online on the 15th. And then the community building would be approved as part of the phase 2 when we have the grading and excavation for all of our utilities, which will also be going to the tiny shelters. But all of these designs are in the context of House Bill 4212. And so as long as they meet building code, then the project is approved. Did I get that right, Lynn?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to say I can kind of jump in because this is way outside of usual for this group. So in an emergency session in May, the Oregon legislature emergency board approved a whole bunch of changes that really allowed us all to do business while COVID was happening. So some of those changes had to do with public meeting rules and technology, things like that. But there were a couple provisions that really had to do with people and homeless folks in particular. And so they created what's called a shelter super siting provision. That's what we're terming it. It was based out of House Bill 4001, which came up in the last full legislative session, did not get through because of the walkout, but that was resurrected here. And what it says is that we cities must approve applications that meet certain criteria. And there was a 90-day application window that ended in September. Eric's application was complete and gave us what we needed. And so basically the development code is out the window for this and one other shelter. There is a requirement to adhere to public health and safety. And so the best way to prove that is through obtaining building permits and complying with building codes. So that's what Eric is referring to. But it really removed a lot of sort of the improvements that would normally be needed, such as full utilities, in each home, let's say. It really allowed, I think, applicants to design what they thought was appropriate for shelters. And this project was really one of the ones that were in mind by the legislature when this bill was passed. So I am more than happy to do, if you guys have questions either on or offline, to do a work session on this in the future, something like that. But for now, just know that yes, they are entitled, assuming that building permits are complied with.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Kathy, I see you waving your hand. You are next. Kathy Austin.
Thank you. I also had my little hand raised in the chat box. Hopefully that showed up. So I have more architectural questions. And I was just wondering, are these composting toilets? And you're showing toilets and sinks in each individual unit. And I was just wondering if they're not tied into the sewer, how that's being addressed.
They
And
are
then,
tied to the sewer.
pardon?
They are tied to the sewer.
Oh, okay, good. And then are these on slabs or are these on wheels, the units?
They'll be on piers, concrete piers, with structural engineering designed to hold them down.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I just wanted to make sure that there was some accessibility if any of your veterans need that. So if
Absolutely.
they are slabs or on piers, as opposed to wheels, then that's addressed.
Yeah,
So-
no wheels. They're stick built. We're making our own kit. We designed our own kit to be built over at J-Bar-J, and then we'll ship the kits to be assembled on site. But it'll be grade level. Every unit is ADA compliant. So 100% of the villagers can require and can be delivered ADA services.
So that would probably include some blocking by the toilet to have a grab bar if necessary.
Exactly. Yep.
That's great. Now, I know I'm familiar with similar projects, and the issue comes up, well, it's supposed to be temporary, but it's, you know, it's plumbed and it's on the slab. It's not really temporary, is it? Do you have to be considered temporary, or, you know, it just, what's the definition there?
Yeah, there are a bunch of definitions, but because of the development code not applying, most of the definitions don't apply either. You know, the bottom line is we're leasing this ground for 10 years. So we're building the units so that they are nice and permanent for the 10 years. So they're not on wheels, they're not shaky, you know, they're structurally sound, obviously meet the building code, but limited effort to remove them in 10 years so that we can put them on another site when we plan our expansion, so that we don't waste any capital to build these.
So there isn't a thought of continuing or extending the lease beyond the 10 years? You're expected to leave, or is there?
Well, there's certainly a thought, but until that day comes, I don't want to plan as if it will happen. I need to plan that it doesn't happen, and then that's upside if it does.
I see. So it'll be bolted to the foundation in a way that you're able to unbolt it and move it if necessary.
Absolutely. And all the plumbing and whatnot will be on quick disconnects and those kinds of things. They'll be underground. And, you know, we have a little bit of demolition costs that we've, you know, provided for in the plan to put the site back to its, you know, initial condition when we leave at some point. Maybe that's 20 years from now, I hope, or 30, but, you know, it is just part of our planning.
Well, great. Thank you. It sounds like you've planned for all the different contingencies. Thanks for answering my questions.
Of course. Great questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. You asked a couple of my questions. I see Ian's hand's raised. We've got about a minute left for questions. I think we're doing great on time. Ian, you are next with your question. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll defer to Priscilla.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ian. So I was just wondering, Eric, if we're unable to fund the full ask, then what?
Well, we're going to do it. I mean, we got a lot of momentum. We're grading next week, I hope, or 2 weeks. You know, the shelters are going up. We designed it in phases so that we could get people out of the woods as soon as possible. So we're going to do this. As I put in the proposal, if we don't get funding or limited funding, we'll find it elsewhere. You know, we're too far along to not see this thing through. And it's a very compelling solution, I think, for our region. And I think it ultimately, and this, I'm not taking any personal pride in saying this, it's just, we believe this can be a model that can be expanded, you know, for the broader use in our community. And we're delighted to be the prototype and the experiment. You know, there's a lot of us engineers on the project, and we think that, you know, we can, working with as the partnership, working with the county and the city, and the affordable housing group and homeless leadership coalition, we really can, you know, engage the future of homelessness and reduce that problem. And so we'd be delighted to get the funding. It would be sad if we didn't, but it's not going to stop us. We're going to get this thing done.
And I guess the other question is there any flexibility to add additional units?
There is. Our original proposals planned for 30, and I think the density on the site will still allow for it. The county right now would like to limit it to 15, so we need written approval, you know, to expand. I know that we can fit in a half dozen more here without being too creative. And I think there's ultimately, well, this is just my view as a person, but there's a lot more land on this parcel that's not being used in this first phase that, you know, if we could find the right grading contractors, you know, we could double the size or triple the size of the project. But of course, the county would need to approve all that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you so much. I don't see any other hands. Eric, thank you for your very thorough application. And we enjoyed hearing from you today and appreciate your time and all your efforts. It's amazing.
Okay. Well, it's my pleasure. I thought there was a great question in the in the sample questions, I might ask myself and then answer it. If we're okay on time, can I spend 1 minute on that?
We're a little bit over, but I'll give you a minute.
Okay, well, I'll take 30 seconds. So
Okay.
it was question number 5 in your research on homelessness in comparable communities to the one you are building. What has been lacking that other communities have? And I think, we're seeing a lot in the newspaper, city council meetings, Bend is working on homelessness, and that's fantastic. The momentum is phenomenal, and I'm really excited. If you look at Eugene and Portland and what they're doing with their microsites and their rest stops or safety stops, they have a lot of commitment to homeless solutions and funding sources, revenue sources, and they have designated people on staff just for the homeless situation. And so these rest stops, these microsites that Eugene is doing, Eugene has got a lot of great programs. And ultimately, I think with Bend, moving forward with this program and the one out at Jumba Ridge and St. Vincent de Paul, or that other one, I think we will be catching up and getting more engaged to help our homeless and really work on this societal issue. So I think ultimately, I just wanted to say the city of Bend is making great progress, and we have peers in our region that are doing things that we should look at and say, hey, you know what? Other people are doing it. It's definitely time for us to be doing these things. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your consideration for our project. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
You too.
All right, next on the agenda is Related Northwest, the Mary Rose Place Apartments.
Hi there.
Steph, are you
yeah.
there? And Ty, it looks like you guys got moved over. Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
And can you hear me? Yes, I think I see my name come up when I talk. Great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Steph Condor. I'm with Related Northwest. I'm joined by Ty Dunson and Daniela Chansey. We are here to present our Mary Rose Place Apartments. It is, a really big goal of ours to move out of the metro area. I want to, next slide, take a little bit of time to give background about Related. Related is, if you can go to the next slide, a national developer. Has been in business for over 40 years, doing all levels of housing and office and retail. Started out as affordable housing developers, and nationally actually have 55,000 units of affordable housing. On the West Coast, that accounts for about 16,000 units. Related Northwest was actually opened about 2.5 years ago. I opened an office for Related. Formerly, I worked as the director of real estate development for Central City Concern, where I did a lot of homeless housing. So Eric's proposal was very inspiring, and I really was impressed by it. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I thought it's great that the city of Bend is looking at that. Our project actually, next slide, is, well, let me take one step to tell you, currently we've got 4 projects underway. We're really kind of in the metro area. We're located in Portland, and we have 2 projects in Southeast Portland, one in the St. John's neighborhood in North Portland, and then one in the community of Tigard. Next slide. This gives you a little kind of snapshot of what our projects tend to look like. We really take a lot of pride at Related. Our reputation is known for quality of design, durable materials. We're long-term owners. We take a lot of pride in where we're developing and being good neighbors and developing things that are aesthetically pleasing and well operated and well planned. Next slide. The Mary Rose Place Apartments is, proposed as 220 units of affordable housing, and it's over 2 different buildings. We want to serve two communities: a senior building, a senior affordable housing, and a family or workforce affordable housing. And the demographic that we're trying to reach is, Bend residents that are low income, fixed incomes, or lower income individuals between 30 to 60% AMI. We are targeting about 50 of these units set aside for seniors. This proposal is planned as kind of a two-phased proposal. We'll also get into the financing on how we're going to put this together. But some of the amenities that we're planning for is like exercise and movement rooms, community room, teen room, playground, barbecue and picnic area, you know, a great courtyard and green space, ample parking and bike storage. And, you know, we will be accompanied by Engage, which is actually a nationally recognized co-generational and senior programs services provider. They really do arts enrichment programs. They're pretty cool. You'll have a chance maybe to check them out, look them up. They do some pretty interesting programming. So it's like performing arts and visual arts. And so we build out space for those types of co-generational experiences where seniors and youth can get together and work on projects together and learn from one another. And it's a pretty neat environment that's replicated. We're actually working on one deal with them in Tigard, and I know they're doing one down in Southern California, and they've got several with other developers. Next slide. I think, you know, from a feasibility perspective, you know, we are in the early stages. We've gotten a good amount of community support already. The seller of the site is Praxis. They've given us a letter of recommendation why they're interested in this particular project. Look, they could sell it for a lot of different uses. It's in a medical overlay, highly desirable area, you know, well located, which are all things that are really important in affordable housing, by the way, access to fresh groceries and walking distance to different, you know, public transit and things like this. So this site locationally is excellent. You know, we're able to get density and scale a good number of units to be able to address, you know, I know that Bend, as well as many other communities in Oregon and along the West Coast, are struggling with, you know, the housing crisis in Oregon, particularly with significant in-migration, and Bend very much so. You know, this is a way to be able to deliver a good number of units, create a great economic opportunity for the area. And Praxis recognizes this. A big hurdle they have is, you know, housing for staffing. And so, you know, they see this as a great opportunity for, you know, delivering housing for their senior clients as well as for their staff. So, you know, we are really excited to work with them. Here's some kind of the feasibilities. And we've talked with the city and had some initial conversations about this, and it looks like a really promising opportunity for us. Next slide.
Steph, I'm just going to interrupt. You've got about 30 seconds left, so I don't know how much. I just want to give you a time check. Thank you so much.
So you can go to the next slide, you know, basically location, and, you know, here's unit mix, which is in our application. Also, you know, when we look at how we're leveraging financial resources, we plan on going after 9% for the senior family and 4%. So one of the things that Related is well known for is their expertise in putting a capital stack together and leveraging funds. You know, it's something that, you know, over the 55,000 units of affordable housing, we've got a lot of in-house expertise that are able to bring to the table to help leverage a lot of different funding sources.
And this is Ty also. And in a previous life at Oregon Housing, I've also worked on a 9% 4% combo. So we have some local experience, and it's not a structure that's foreign to Related.
Right. And, you know, the timeline, the funding round is coming up. So we're getting ready. This is perfect timing to be able to, you know, put some local jurisdiction money to point to this project to say that it is a project that the city of Bend supports. That really gives a good indicator to the funders at the state level that this is of interest. you know, and the timeline, basically, we would be set to close by August 2022. So that's getting your funding, entitlements, permits, and then closing on the financing. Plan to be done with construction in June 2024 and the lease up in October 2024. I mean, these things are, you know, they are a labor of love, and they take time, but, you know, we think that this, you know, honestly, compared to some projects, I think this one has the makings for going pretty expeditiously when you speak about affordable housing development. And I guess I would just end with next 2 slides. These are some of the different community supports that we received. GLI Advisors, our construction manager, is local to Bend, actually. I've worked with GLI for I want to say, I think almost 10 years. And I use them on all of my projects. And I'm really excited to be able to do a project in Bend where it's in their backyard. They'll bring local expertise. We haven't picked a GC yet, and that's things that we'll be looking at to, you know, who are the strong leaders in the city of Bend. And then, you know, I would say when, you know, thinking of us, why Related Northwest, I think, you know, I grew up in Oregon, excited to be able to expand Related's footprint. You know, that is our model, to work with local jurisdictions. We want to, I know I have a lot more to learn and who to partner with there. And we're just at the beginning of, you know, doing our community outreach, knowing what organizations to work with to expand the services that we will be giving to the residents of this community. You know, I think I would love to share and go on and on about some of the innovative things that we've done, like working with Boys and Girls Club for after school programs and things like that, bringing into the community. And I would say our excellence in design, the things that we create are very, you know, very livable, very thoughtful design. We have an in-house architect that reviews everything that is designed. We've initially tapped Sarah Architects, which are local to Portland, that do excellent communities, to be the architects on this. So we're really excited about what we're able to share with you. And so I'll stop there because I know that there's a—
Yes, we're really long on time. Thank you for that. I'm going to open it up to questions. I see Kathy Austin's hand virtually raised. Kathy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, I am very, very familiar with the site. I live about a mile away, and I'm excited to see something happen there, and looks like great work. Just to let you know, because you don't know me from Adam, but I'm an architect. And I was wondering, when I look at your site plan and I looked at the listings, you list your parking as 1-to-1. And I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity for you to perhaps reduce the amount of parking that you're providing, given the closeness to amenities, the number of senior housing and adjacent to you know, other public transportation and so forth, and, you know, reserve an area that you could add parking in the future if you felt it was necessary. But I'm a big proponent of reducing the amount of parking that we're providing if it's not really necessary. And that might help with your costs as well. So I was wondering if you could just address the parking. And then the other thing is, you've probably heard in the beginning, we have a little over $1 million to give and about $3 million of ask. And so the question becomes, if you don't get your full ask, what the impact is on that.
Sure, that's great questions. Just to address the parking, you know, this is a first pass broad brushstroke site plan. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to get everything that we needed to get onto the site to pass muster with the city. Certainly there will be additional conversations to make sure that, you know, we want to make sure that we're developing something that the community receives well and also our residents receive well. And it is true that parking can be stepped down for the senior community, but at the initial concept, we wanted to reflect something that was commensurate to what zoning code is. So that's definitely something that we'll be looking at. So it's a very good point. And you're right, it could save us some money. It could be green space. There could be an additional playground or something, or a outdoor performing arts space. I mean, we try to be really creative when we're building this space.
Yeah.
Good point.
There's a company called Invisible Structures that your civil engineer, I'm sure, is familiar with, where they provide parking that is basically looks like grass, but it can even withstand a fire truck to be on. And I've used that on projects myself, you know, and it's possible that you could have a green space that could double as parking as necessary if need be. But I mean, it's great that you're looking at that and thinking about that. And I think, you know, there's a progressive council coming on next year, and they might be more open to considering reductions in parking. Could you address the if you don't get the full ask?
Sure. Yep. So with regards to the full ask, you know, I would just say it makes us much less competitive at the state round. So if this is something that the city of Bend wants to see and support by indicating putting funds in this deal, you're basically indicating this is something you support, and it's just better received at the state. It also helps meet the gap. So it's not to say that it would derail the project. I think it just makes it less competitive. And what I'm trying to do is take your $1 million and leverage it for a $40 million project. It brings economic viability to the city of Bend and housing, much needed housing for all of your community members. So that would be my what I would share. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Allison, I see your hand raised. Are you ready? You have it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Real quick, in the proposal, I got two questions. You said readiness to proceed is that the property is secured under a letter interest. I don't know what that is. If that's a letter of intent and it might be a typo, I'd like clarification there. And also on the loan terms, you say that you request the flexible to convert the AHF to a grant to be determined by a nonprofit project partner. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so with respect to readiness, you know, we have a right to build under the zoning for the property. So we always feel like that's a big threshold. We are in negotiations with the seller that they do support this. So, you know, we are working to get into a PSA with them, which is more formalized. You know, the letter is not a binding contract. So we are working through that. Then with respect to loan terms, look, we can do soft debt to the city and repay it. It just has to be in the waterfall of things. I have no problem with that. But what we ask is when we usually bring on a nonprofit partner so we can get property tax exemption, because property taxes is another hurdle for us to pay when you have very limited income coming from the rents. So we always bring in a nonprofit partner, and it also actually helps us with residents. So what we're going to do is look into the organizations in the Bend community to see if there's somebody that would be a great partner that can do additional services. And usually, like, for example, we partner with Central City Concern, Catholic Charities, a lot of very reputable nonprofits. And so the way these funds come in, they can come in as grants, they can come in as soft debt. But if it is a grant, it needs to go to the nonprofit for tax reasons. And then they bring that money into the deal either as GP equity or GP loan. So it's just a structuring thing. We're super open-minded to how you guys want to bring it in. So we do, however you want to do it, we can make it work.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good question, Allison. Appreciate that. The next person I see, Ian Schmidt, are you ready?
I am. In the interest of timeliness, I'm curious where we are with time on this candidate, and if we are running long, because I think we probably have a few more questions for this one.
We have 3 minutes and 38 seconds.
Okay, great. Then 2 questions. First off, can you tell me a little bit about the way that you are in your application? I only see that you're listing 4% LIHTC funds and no 9%. And then my second question is, I see that your developer fee is, I believe, 4 million, shall we call it 3, and that's in initial costs. Can you tell me how that works and how initial is it, how upfront is it, and why is it structured that way?
Yeah, so the reason we didn't put in the 9% app is the million goes for the 4%. The 4% deal is the workforce housing, which is the lion's share of the units. And so that really helps the gap on the workforce housing. It also helps us deepen the affordability and be more competitive in the lift round. That's what we would go after. And so there is a 9% that accompanies this. They go in as two separate deals. They go into two separate funding rounds, but the $1 million that are asked isn't in that side of the deal. Okay. And that's just, you know, when you're sitting there putting two pro formas together and you're trying to figure out the balance and how to weigh it, I think from structurally, financially, it's simpler paperwork wise because it's two separate entities. And then secondarily, the biggest gap was on the workforce housing, and we want to be competitive. And then with respect to the developer fee, we take the developer fee up to that level. That's not how much fee we're actually getting, like hard fee. Hard cash fee in the door is probably about $1 million, and that comes over the period. There's like 4 different installments. It's at TCO or C of O, so your completion. Then it comes at your cost cert. Then it's at lease up stabilization, and then it's at 8609. These are all different kind of events that your equity investor looks at to how they pay your fee for doing the development. We don't make anything during pre-development, so that money actually pays for all of the work that goes into the deal and all the risk. We fully guarantee all of the deals. We have completion guarantees and everything. So that's a component of it. The remaining 3 million is basically considered a source in the deal. And that basically generates equity. And so you'll see developers, affordable housing developers do this often where they'll bolster the developer fee in order to be able to generate more LIHTC equity into the deal. That deferred developer fee gets paid through operations over the next 15 years of the deal. Not get too into the weeds on the financial aspects, but this is something that even at Central City Concern, when I worked at a nonprofit, it's a widely practiced tool in the developer's toolbox for affordable housing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. We got about 30 seconds, and I see Matt's hand raised. Matt, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Quick question. So this is, it seems like it's a pretty hefty undertaking, 4-story buildings, kind of a central location to Bend. And it looks like you have some developments going in the Metro Portland area. Being that this is kind of on the other side of the hill, would you be looking to utilize local contractors for construction, or would you be bringing them in from over in the valley?
No, we definitely want local contractors. We want to use local subs. You know, we will probably be looking to do some MWESB, making sure that we're working with minority and women-owned contracting. That's always something that we're seeking. Even if there isn't requirements, we think it's a really important thing to engage in. As I mentioned, our construction manager is local to Bend, so I feel really blessed for that because I think he's lived in the community for 20 years. So he definitely knows, you know, what the contracting community is there, the sub community. And so we want to make sure that where we develop, we're creating economic opportunity. It's important. And I know you guys have great contractors there. You have great buildings there. I have no qualms about using local business. I think it's the right way to go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, I see your hand. We are over time, but I know you always bring a valuable question to the table.
Thanks. My question hopefully will be super quick. So you're proposing a 9% application and a lift application at the same time to the state, which will kind of follow 2 different paths, and they're both are very probably competitive. I also saw in your performance that you included, you had about $2 million for land. I guess what it might, and the current owner paid 3 years ago over 4.5 for it. So my question is, if you don't get one of these competitive awards, does the whole deal go away? And how do you plan to take down the land, even though you don't have a PSA yet? Do you plan to take that down before you get any kind of funding?
No, it's a great question. There's a couple questions in that. So let me address the first. note that you didn't see the 9% side. So we split the land cost between the two deals. We didn't put it all under the 4% deal. So the land cost is split between the two. There's some allocated to the 9% and some to the 4%. We don't take the land down before we close on the construction loan. So we usually work terms that are long-term to be able to do all of our due diligence, to get through entitlements, to get our funding, to get through permits, and then we take the loan out. And that's just part of our negotiation. And then I think, yes, they are both very competitive. I've been really successful at getting funded. Like I said, we've been open for 2.5 years. I've got 4 deals fully funded. And I think it's a function of, look, we've got Ty Dunson, who formerly worked for OHCS and wrote the 2019 QFP and ran the 9% program. So I feel like I have a good advantage for somebody that knows what a good application should look like. And also, you know, I've done a lot of really significant development. I did the Blackburn Center for Central City Concern, which was Newmarket and LIHTC, a $52 million project. It was a big undertaking. And I successfully completed and delivered that in 18 months, which is with design review. I'm a strong developer, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything. I know there's a lot more work to know about the city of Bend, but I'm really excited to be able to do this type of development for the city of Bend. I think it would be a real opportunity to get these kind of numbers for housing and to serve these different communities. So I hope I get the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. And I mean, the last question, I guess, was you need both, or the deal's no good, right? You need both awards. Is that what you're telling me?
Look at, I mean, I think that if we get one and not the other, it makes it more challenging. But I think that that's where we have to go back and look at what the other opportunity is. Maybe we do it a phase and they start at a different time. We'd have to figure out how to take the land down in a different way. So there's opportunities to be creative, we'll say. But I will say, I think that presenting a 4% and 9%, it's not done often. It's done quite often in California. And we want to bring these types of more sophisticated financial, capital stacks to the Bend area and to Oregon. We think that it's just a way to be able to better leverage funds and do more scale. So we think it'll be well received. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Steph. I appreciate you being so prepared and so informative. I think this is your first application with our committee in the area, and your attention to detail has not gone unnoticed. So thank you so much. I appreciate your information.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think when we first learned about it, it was about 3 days before it was due. So
I did hear that. You scrambled. You made it happen.
A good one.
Very impressive.
Yeah,
Thank you again. Yeah. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Take care.
So next is, now she's not new, Amy Warren with Core Community Land Trust. You are ready to take the floor. Thank you so much, Amy. And you can start when you're ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Amy, we got you.
Okay, awesome. All the unmute buttons. Rachel, are you doing slides?
Yes, she is. You just need to tell her when you want them to go.
Okay. Next slide, please. So we are applying for some funding today for a 2-parcel townhome, shared townhome lots at 61579 Southwest Riverwalk Lane. We do have a purchase sale agreement on this property, and it is contingent on this funding award. Next slide, please. So these two properties together are 219,000. They're 2 build-ready RM tax lots, totaling about 0.12 acres. Each townhome will be approximately 1,900 square feet, This gives us the opportunity at CORE to kind of round out our housing portfolio. We have Corazon, which is almost complete at 2 bedrooms. Cressida, our next one, will have 1-bedroom units, and these will be, hopefully we can fit 4-bedroom units in the design. So there'll be more larger family units than what we have at our other 2 projects. We're hoping to provide stable housing opportunities through these homes for 2 families and serve approximately 10 to 12 individuals. Because they're build ready, if we receive our full ask today, our expected completion time is about 18 months, putting them finished just after the cottages at Cressida. Next slide, please. So these are a couple of photos of other shared wall townhomes in the community. Next slide, please. And a condensed version of the budget that you guys have in the application. As you can see, this is this affordable housing fee ask as far as the sources go will be the only ask you see from us, with the exception of down payment assistance for the end of the project. Next slide, please. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I know I've heard the question multiple times, is how the community land trust model that we use to develop these homes and steward them in perpetuity is different from just using the land trust model. So I have a couple of high-level ways. The land trust model will hold the land in trust for a length of time for the purpose of housing. The difference between that and a community land trust is that length of time for us is permanent, it's in perpetuity. The purpose of an organization that uses the land trust model is sometimes affordable housing. And I say sometimes because, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with maybe cabins on Crescent Lake. So that's where the Forest Service will use the land trust model for the housing, but the purpose is not affordable. With the community land trust, the purpose is always affordable housing. With the land trust model, organizations may have a board of directors. A community land trust has a board of directors. It's also a tripartite board, which means that at least 1/3 of our board, the voices of our governance, are either our homeowners or those who are representative of the communities that we serve. The land trust model may steward the land and program over time. The community land trust does steward the land and program in perpetuity. Next slide, please. So the point of all that is basically that the benefit of the community land trust model is that perpetual affordability. Over time, numerous families will benefit from a stable home as well as a unique equity building opportunity. So when you guys invest subsidy into a project like this, it's everlasting. It doesn't have a timeout period on affordability. Yeah, and I think that I'm going to be the short one, I guess, today, because I like the question part better than the presentation part.
Well, thank you, Amy. Is that, okay, that looks like your last slide. You made it within the 5 minutes. Actually, you had 40 seconds left, so we gained a little bit of time. I'm going to look for questions from the committee. Either I can see everyone's face again, so if you want to raise your hand physically. Okay, Heather, you have the floor. Thank you.
So I just wanted to clarify, since the application was submitted, it looks like all sources of funding are pending still and the land has not been purchased. Is that still correct?
That is correct. The land would be purchased with these requested funds. The next thing we would go for would be the state lift homeownership funding, and that application opens up early 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Heather. Kathy Austin, you are next.
Thank you. Amy, so I just want to get clear on the amount that you're asking for. And, you know, keeping in mind, we always have a lot more ask than we have funds. It looks like the 219,000 is the cost of the lots. Is the question is always, well, if we can't give you your full ask, how does that impact you? So are you asking for 420,000 or are you asking for 219,000? And what, you know, what is the impact to you if we can't give you your full ask?
Thanks, Kathy. So we're requesting up to 420,000. Our go, no go on the deal is the cost of the land, the 219,000. If the remaining funds, we would expedite the project basically, because I think as you saw in the previous presentation, lift funding between the time of application and the time of being able to use them is at least a year. So if we were to purchase a build ready lot and have no funds for a year, then it's going to sit there for a year. If we have some funds to do some preliminary work and get the ball rolling, then we can meet our deadline of 18 months.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm looking for any other hands. Anyone else have any questions? Ian, you are next.
Thank you. Amy, question for you. As I'm reading the application, I believe it's 2 lots with 2 townhomes on each lot. So that's a total of 4 homes, right?
No, it's 2 lots. Each lot will accommodate 1 townhome and they have a shared wall. So 2 homes total.
Okay, so 2 homes total. Okay,
yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, I'm looking here. Anybody else have any questions? I have a question on the Corazon project. With that being almost done, it looks like half the units are sited. So what is your timing when you're describing, if that's almost finished, how much more time on Corazon so we can see the timing as this would relate to this project?
Yes, so the homes at Corazon should be finished by the end of January. And we're hoping for move-in by the end of February because we still have to finalize the subdivision with the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Amy. I don't see any other hands raised or any questions. So thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
You bet. All right, next is Kinetic Resources, the 110 Northwest Revere Residential Housing and ADU project. Whenever you're ready, Steve, you may start.
Perfect. I assume everyone can hear me?
Hold on, I just gotta get it up on my screen. I'm just having some issues, but I'll figure it out. Hold on.
I guess I should say when Rachel's ready with this, and then you can start.
I saw a thumbs up.
It'll come up the screen here pretty shortly.
There we go.
Hey, here we go. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to apply for affordable housing funding for the project at 110 Northwest Revere. Little background for me, I am a for-profit builder that's doing affordable housing, and without the help of the city, it would not be a success as it is. We've had success through Revere Renaissance Apartments, which are affordable housing project that the funding was made available through the city. And the reason why, and this is going away a little bit from the actual project, but the reason why I'm able to do this is that the affordable funding is at such a value and it can be offset the cost of doing it for profit. So consequently, it's key to have the funds in order to do these projects. So having said that, Rachel, could you flip to the slide which actually has the plat, which shows the location of it? And I apologize, they're not put in order. I'm not a pro like some of the presenters have been past previously. The lot is located, it's actually one large lot located at the corner of Northwest Revere and Wall Street, right there where the Parkway empties onto Wall Street. And what I'm proposing to do is build 2 single-family homes with ADU units above the garages. Now, of the project, half, or 1 home and 1 ADU, would be designated for affordable funding and affordable housing. The property I own clear, ready to build once the plans are done. So as far as funding, the question is how much fund am I requesting from the city? That'd be $300,000, which is basically 30% of the whole cost of the project. If I can get some other slides here. Rachel, there is a slide which shows what the development project budget is. It's actually forward of this one. There you go, you just passed it. So this shows the cost of the land, professional engineering, city plan review permits, infrastructure improvements, construction costs, landscape improvements. Total cost of project is 1.282 million. And of that, again, I'm requesting 300,000 from the city. Terms, I have probably one of the questions that will come up is that it would be payable in 5 years so that the city would be reimbursed in 5 years. As far as availability to starting time, we're available to start at any time. In fact, we're looking at getting the plans further along than what they are right now. We have preliminary plans set. In fact, you can push that backwards, if you would, Rachel, to the plan set. A little farther back. Oh, well, looks like there they are. Well, if I was a little more organized, my presentation, it'd be a little easier for you. So this is the 2 homes. If you put it back one, if you would, Rachel, please. This shows the 2 homes with the ADU above the garages. And this will actually be designed so that someone who is physically challenged will be able to rent in the affordable housing. And the ADU would be for a couple or a single mom or something of that nature. Currently, I have multiple single moms renting an affordable housing projects. And I'm going to stay within under my 5 minutes by quite a bit, and let's leave it open for questions. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Steve. I actually have a question until my screen comes up and I can see the faces again. Is there currently a home on this property
Yes,
that needs to be removed? Is it going to involve any level 1 environmental studies, lead-based paint, things like that? Or are you able to just move the home off the property and move it to a different lot?
It would have to have a lead-based study, correct, as well as an asbestos study before removal. I've already done a preliminary one already. Unfortunately, there is very little asbestos. The only asbestos that might be there is in the glue, which is in the vinyl flooring because it is an older home. But that would not mitigate the problem of demolishing the home. We will save some aspects. There's some fun entry stones on it. I'm going to save for the entry and reuse for the entry of the new homes, which will be fun. But that's another, how would you say it when you get married? A little old, a little new, and a little blue. So I'll just save a little old for this project.
Great, thank you so much. Allison, I see you're next. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Quick questions. I wondered if, first of all, I didn't see any community support in the proposal, so I wondered if you had talked to any neighbors or had any other letters that maybe I just missed. And also, will there be a deed restriction, or how are you going to monitor that the project remains accessible for affordable housing? Thank you.
Well, that'd be a deed restriction until paid off, number one. Number two, I have talked with the neighbors. I did not get letters. I'm sure I'd be welcome with open arms because of what's existing versus what would be there. But again, I did not supply a letter, so I failed on that account. I should have.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. But
The zoning does allow this type of structure outright. So as far as a conditional use, it would not be applicable.
okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Matt, I see you are next.
Thank you much. Hi, Steve. I have some questions regarding the deed restriction and the affordability timelines you have on the project summary and description. Section 5 it says developer is proposing a loan interest rate of 0% amortized over 30 years. At the end of the 5th year, the principal loan amount will be due and payable for a term of 5 years. The rental base rate, it goes off. So are you anticipating this to be only affordable housing for 5 years? And then you're going to pay off the loan and put it at market rate?
That would be correct, but it'd be likely that I would keep it at that rate. But I realize it's only as good as my word. My word's always good. But bottom line is that when the loan's paid off, it should be able to be, the rental rate should be able to be dictated by myself. So it would could no longer be affordable. That is correct.
Okay. And then second, page 9 on the pro forma lists the housing rent at $1,727. Is that what you're proposing as the market or the affordable rent would be?
That is correct. That is
Okay,
correct.
and the ADU would be $986.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Austin, you are next.
Just real quick, one of our checklists asks if we have to move somebody off of the property to develop. And so just wondering, are there tenants in the existing house that need to be relocated? And then also, I know you just said the numbers of your rents, but could you tell me what level of affordability that is that at 80%, or what is the percentage of affordability?
That's at 60% affordability according to HUD Performa.
Okay, great, thank you.
The tenant that is currently there does leave next month, and she does have a new home to go to. So there'll be not a eviction where someone's left hanging.
Okay, that's all. I'll be real quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I don't see anyone else. Joanna, thank you.
I'm just curious if you know how much that unit is currently being rented for.
It's $900 a month.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no further questions, Steve, thank you so much for being so timely. You helped us gain a little time back.
Hey, Cindy, I did see Heather raise her hand earlier. I just don't know if she's visible to you?
Hi, I actually, everyone has asked the questions that I was hoping to ask. Maybe I'll just clarify one more time because I also had questions about the affordability. You intend on both the main homes and the ADUs to be to meet the affordability requirements for at least 5 years. I just want to confirm that.
That is correct. But it'll only be one home and one ADU. There'll be a total of 2 homes and 2 ADUs built. But of that, only one pair, for lack of better words, only one home and one ADU will be affordable housing rent.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Great. I apologize, Heather, that I missed you. I can see everyone. It just must not have shown up. So thanks for speaking up. I appreciate that. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, next, Housing Works with their HB 4079 proposal.
Hi, am I up?
I will try to get you up on the screen as soon as I can.
Okay. So I'll start just to, I think you all know who we are. But for those who don't, we're the Regional Housing Authority. We're by far the largest affordable housing developer in the region and in the city as well. We've got over 600 units, and I think we're under construction. We have another about 70, give or take, that are under construction now. And our model is not unlike Related's in the sense that we typically buy finished lots. So we'll find a lot that's appropriately zoned, tie it up, oftentimes come to you. We've come to you for a number of years in a row, or funds to purchase the site. And then we close and we seek tax credits or lift funding or a combination of other sources. This is a little bit different for us. Do you want to go to the next slide? So this, I'll give you some background on HB 479. In 2016, the legislature passed a pilot program that allowed jurisdictions to propose a site that would bypass the UGB process in exchange for a substantial amount of affordable housing within the proposal. City had been nominated this 40-acre parcel just east of UGB between Highway 20 and Bear Creek, and was selected, was actually the only jurisdiction who had a project selected under this bill. And LCD required that the project be annexed into the city within 2 years of UGB acknowledgement. And we're coming up on that, that deadline. So next slide. So this is where the site is located. It was originally owned by PacWest Builders, and PacWest Builders have subsequently contracted with Hayden Homes to purchase this. And Hayden is in the master planning process, and they believe they'll submit for their master plan by the end of this calendar year, so sometime this month. We have a purchase and sale agreement with Hayden. Purchased about a little over 5 acres of land in the northwest portion of the lot. We don't have the exact contours because the master plan isn't approved, and until the master plan is approved, they can't parcelize, and we can't actually establish or close on the site. So the one reason this is different for us is typically we have the site already sort of defined and in place, and in this case, we have a contract to buy a land that has a price and a size, but not precise contours. But because of the way the HB 4079 works, we really kind of have to go concurrently with that to make this parcel work. Next slide. The price is substantially below market, obviously, because this is a speculative project, and nobody else would purchase. They certainly wouldn't purchase it for what market value would be if it happened to be in the UGB and already zoned. The project is just north of what will be a 3-acre park to be dedicated to Ben Park and Rec District. They already actually have it in their capital improvement program for, I think, year 23-24. And we also intend to build a Head Start facility. We talked to Neighbor Impact about their willingness to operate it, and they are willing. And because of the size of this potential site, which we think will accommodate about 250 units, give or take, that it's a good amenity. The units will be family units. This is not, we won't use this for any special needs households, because I think at this point, Ben just needs affordable units for families. And as soon as the site is annexed, we will put the site into the state funding cycle, which probably won't be till the next round. It's not impossible it will be this round, but I would be really surprised if Hayden can get annexed that quickly. So that's it. I'm happy here to answer questions. And that's it.
Thank you, David. I know the project you have started off of 27th Street there by Doctors Drive is moving right along. It's very exciting to see that progress. All right, Kathy Austin, I see your hand raised. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Just very quickly, thank you for including Head Start in this. It's so important. And I'm very familiar with the original proposal when it got approved by the state and the park area that you're discussing. And I guess that Hayden is going to do something quite different in their site planning than their master plan than what was conceptually done. Are you familiar with that? Originally, it looked like there was going to be a lot of townhouses. So I'm just curious if that the model that you're looking at for yourself is townhouses, or it's going to be.
No, we're looking at our typical 3-story garden walk-ups. Most of the housing we built is in that model. We do have some that are a little bit higher. The Connor site's higher because it has medical office on the ground floor. But This will be 3-story walk-up apartments.
Okay, I guess that when you were saying it's family, I was just thinking that it would be more like of a townhouse type of product. So you're thinking that your funding is going to be in the next round, and I'm just wondering if you don't get funding from us this time around, is that I mean, obviously there's more ask than there's funds, so I'm just trying to find out if we don't give you the funding you're asking for this time, do we have the opportunity to help you next time and it's still good, or you need it absolutely in this ask?
To be honest with you, most likely we would be able to apply next year. It depends on whether, Hayden's operating under a bit of a clock. If they can't get the site annexed and accepted by LCDC, then this site will be withdrawn. And if it's withdrawn, I imagine that it will come back at the next UGB expansion, but won't have any affordable housing on it. And so it's possible. I won't tell you that it's not, that we could be here next year at the exact same time with a very similar ask, and that would be okay. But if the project sort of disintegrates because we can't, get it annexed and approved by LCDC without some kind of a binding commitment from the affordable housing developer portion of it, then it could disappear.
I see. So politically, in terms of the annexation portion, us showing our commitment to you to go forward with the affordable housing is important for the annexation process. Am I understanding?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. That's it for my questions.
Thank you, Kathy. I see Matt's hand up next. Matt, go ahead.
Kind of an internal question on this one. The proposal is about 200 to 250 units, and looking at kind of the properties that are under your umbrella right now, this is considerably larger than, correct me if I'm wrong, considerably larger than any other project that it looks like you guys have managed in the past. Are you going to be handling the management of this internally, or are you going to be hiring a management company to manage this complex?
Yeah, so all of our projects are managed by Epic Property Management, which is a private company. It just happens to be completely controlled by Housing Works. So it's a sort of a wholly owned subsidiary, and they already they'll have 1,300 units under management probably within the end of the year.
Got it. So you're not anticipating any massive growing pains by trying to absorb 250 more units?
No, I mean, it is one of our bigger projects, probably, if it not the biggest. We have some that are 190, but in terms of scaling up, it's not that difficult. In fact, you actually get economies of scale in terms of being able to build. So we think this project is pretty competitive for LIFT and 4% funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see Ian, you are up next, please.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the presentation. This sounds like a very interesting project. My question, you note that you're open to funding this with either affordable housing dollars or CDBG or some combination of the two. Is there any preference or thoughts as to what the ideal ratios would be between those two sources?
Well, it's either as soon as you take CDBG, the issue with CDBG is the timing is much more constrained. The CDBG won't probably be awarded until late summer, August. Isn't that about right, Rachel, when you guys think you can get CDBG out the door? And so it just means that we have to be able to plan for being able to get that money into the project in a way that makes sense timing wise. Other than that, they're the same. I mean, so if CDBG could come out exactly the same time as affordable housing fee money, it would be interchangeable completely.
Okay, thank you.
Allison, your hand is raised. You are next, please.
Thank you. I think I got the answers. I just want to make sure that I understand. You're asking for 100% of the funds needed for land acquisition, and
90%.
90%. Okay. And you're doing it even when construction is so far out. I think you were saying just because there's a lot of contingencies out there, and this would help move things forward. Is that primarily it?
Yeah, primarily. Yeah. I mean, typically, we do sometimes hold sites for up to a year. Especially if there's a lot of contingencies involved. This one has more contingencies than pretty much anything that we've purchased, at least in Ben.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, are there other projects do you know of that are competing for or asking for the House Bill 4079 project approval?
Nope. It was just the Ben project, and then they closed it. It was a one-time pilot.
Okay. Thank you. I think I appreciate it. That's all I have.
No, that's a great question. Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands raised, either Zoom-wise or physically wise. Thank you so much for your questions, and thank you, David, for your time and your presentation.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. All right, last but not least, thank you so much, Building Partners for Affordable Housing. You are up next.
Hello, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so my name's Mandy Weidman, and I actually am with COBA, Central Oregon Builders Association, and I'm one of the managers for Building Partners for Affordable Housing, which is not an unfamiliar project for you guys, so this is definitely nothing new. My main goal today is just to give you some recent updates on our Woodside Court affordable housing project that we've been working on for a while now. So hopefully this will answer some recent questions, and maybe we can be eligible to move forward with the project with some additional funding, because I know we've been stalled out for a while. So we're really excited to report back to you guys that we're moving forward. You know, the presentation is nothing's changed on the lot. It's about a little over 6 acre lot, Southeast Bend. There's going to be about 60 units of 3-bedroom townhouses. So potentially, you know, assuming there's going to be a household of 4, our goal is that we could provide housing for 264 individuals. So that's really exciting to us. You know, we are keeping strong with our mission that we want to move forward with this and keep this at, you know, at like below 80% AMI. And the difference here is that we want the home ownership for families. So we are going to, you know, we want to do the deed restrictions to ensure that they stay affordable home ownership. So that's kind of the main goal of everything. You can move to the next slide, Rachel. We have a couple of the next slides. They're the locations, Southeast Bend. And then just to kind of cycle through those ones a little bit. So it's currently at RL. We're on Monday, as soon as this City Bend systems are back up, we are applying, you know, we're submitting for the comp amendment and the zone change. So we're all ready to go for that. So we're submitting on Monday, which is probably like ringing to everybody's ears to stop dealing with us for a little bit. So we are moving forward. We're submitting on Monday. We had our second neighborhood meeting last Thursday. So the first one was about a year ago. We took a lot of that information. We took it to heart. We changed what we could to accommodate all the neighbors. Most of the same neighbors were back. So it was, you know, it was basically the same people. And it was a really successful meeting. And I feel like we kind of explained the situation to them and, you know, kind of got rid of some of their concerns. So I feel like that went really, really well. We have the preliminary traffic study completed, and, you know, we are asking for $185,000. This is, you know, to take care of the costs associated with the submittals, and the applications and the zone changes and all that good stuff. So that's our main holdup is funding. We are a volunteer-based organization, so that has advantages and challenges like anything. Some of the advantages are just the experience, all the brains working on this. You know, it's the best of the best. The challenges are everyone's time. So everybody's extremely busy right now. We don't have money to pay for a lot of things and a lot of people. So we're kind of on everybody else's time as well. So we are really, really excited to move forward. We've approached a couple different nonprofit, or excuse me, affordable housing partners to partner with us, you know, if some of this funding does not come through, so we can continue the project. So you know, a lot of it is contingent on this funding right now, but we feel strong that we'll have some partners to at least help us a little bit here and there, or you know, assume some of the lots when we're completed to continue to stay in affordable housing. So you know, the project is all the same. We're still plugging away, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Thank you, Mandy. I'm going to ask, I've got 2 questions and then the screen will pop up for me. What has changed on your budget? Your land acquisition worksheet is from July of 2016. So I'm thinking there's some changes there with the estimates of the budget, and with the application for zone change being in on Monday, what is your estimated timing for that to get the zone change approval? What are you guys anticipating?
So for timing, or what are we anticipating for the time of the approval?
For the zone, yeah, you're submitting the application. I think you stated this Monday, if I heard that correct. what is your estimated for timing to get through that zone change process? And then the budget worksheet that was submitted is dated from July 2016. So what's changed with those line items from then to now?
So to answer the first question on the time change, to be perfectly honest, I am not sure on the time. I think that's going to be dependent on the city's new programs and stuff. So I'm not sure how long that's going to take. We're hoping that it's going to be expedited, through the process because of this. But as soon as we get that going, we want to move forward with everything else. So we're, everybody's committed and ready to move forward. And I don't know the answer to the time on how long that's going to take, to be honest, with the new systems and all the new processes. I'm not sure. And then the budget for the development costs, those are all, they're all up a little bit. They're going to be just from 2016, just because everything else has increased. But it's pretty solid. So not a whole lot has changed on that. I mean, some of the fees have increased, but are you looking at the total cost, the 2.2 million to complete the project?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, yep. We're still estimating it about 2.2 million to complete.
Okay, thank you. Matt, I see your hand raised. You are next, please.
Thank you. I've got a couple quick questions for you. How's it going? Number one, as far as your ask and potential repayment, would you be dividing that cost up amongst all of the units and then paying it back upon sale, or how are your repayment terms structured?
So it's my understanding that if we keep it affordable housing, that we don't need to pay it back, right? So we're going to do deed restrictions to enforce that. So if we were to, is that not correct? Rachel shaking her head, no. Okay. So
I think section 4.3 of the application notes has a couple of different options. I was just wondering, because we have a couple of different ways for infrastructure repayment. I just didn't know if that had been factored into the pro forma yet.
I am not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. And maybe you covered this in your initial, but are you looking at 60 or 66 units? Which one was it? Is it still kind of up in the air based upon what you can?
It's, I think that we're settling on 60, but it could fluctuate a couple here and there. We took out a couple of the lots for kind of sound barriers and parking to accommodate the neighbors. So I think we're landing at 60. But, once we get down to it, if we need to remove another for parking or something like that, we're open to be doing that.
Okay. One follow real quick. Are you planning to keep these affordable with the deed restriction in perpetuity, or are you going to put a time limit on the deed restriction?
That I do not know the answer to that one. I know that that's our mission, to keep that deed restricted. I know that for building partners, we're wanting to keep that for life, but at the same time, if we partner with another association that's kind of like we've discussed with Ben Habitat and First Story and stuff. So if we partner with them, we're going to follow their model as well. So that's kind of open and flexible, but that is the goal, to have a deed restriction. I just don't know the answer, depending on if we have to partner with somebody else, what their normal procedure is going to be, whether it's 10 years, whether it's 60 years, or perpetuity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ian, you are up next, please.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. Two questions. One is, I see that you have about a $500,000 ask from other public funds under CDBG as secured, so that looks good. The concern I have, and I think this is an exciting project. I think it's a very exciting project to have this many units going up that are going to potentially support homeownership. I'll be frank, I'm very concerned with how many times in this presentation I heard "I don't know" in response to questions about dollars, about timeline, and about structure. Is there any way we could get more certainty on any of those items?
Absolutely, yeah. I am not the best person to be presenting today. I will let you know that. So I can get any of the answers you need me to get for you. Tim, who would normally be presenting, he is in Salem right now. So, so I do apologize. I don't know all of the answers, but I can get them for you.
Thank you.
Heather, I think you had your hand raised. Are you ready? You have the floor.
I'll be brief. I also have questions about funding and plans for the gap funding, and want to echo what Ian has said. So it'd be great to get a little bit more information.
So is the main question on the gap funding, meaning like where are we going to get the rest to the 2.2? Is that
That's my question? Yeah, because it looked like you had some of it you had plans for, but I couldn't tell where you intended on getting the rest.
We still have we may decide to do phases. That is one of the considerations. And then we may decide to, we're going to have to partner with somebody else, basically. That's the bottom line, is that's where the additional funding is going to come from. That's where the gap is. So the gap will be determined through what that's going to be through you guys and what the terms of that will be and who we're going to partner with. So, but we have to partner with somebody else to receive the additional funding. And those conversations have happened. So we are in those processes. I just, due to the fact that I don't know which organization it's going to be, I can't comment on their specific parameters of what we're going to need to do. But I think our last couple of projects that we've done have been a deed restriction for 10 years. But like I said, I don't know what, say, like First Story would want to do or Habitat would want to do.
Thank you so much. Hey, real quickly, Ian, I see your hand up again. Okay, I'm going to call on Ian and then Kathy. Austin, you'll be next. Ian, go ahead, please.
Thank you. And just one thing I wanted to comment on, I suppose it's a question, it's also a comment. As someone who works in the development and construction sector, I'm unaware of any projects that have had costs hold steady since the date these estimates were put together. And so I would be very concerned for the committee to allocate funds for something with a potentially 4 or 5 year out of date estimate, just given what accelerations have been in my experience. Are you able to answer that with any additional clarity, or is that something we should get clarity from somewhere else? Well,
last time we checked, so we ran this past before we submitted to kind of our experts that we're working with, and they felt like it was, I mean, in general, it's going to go up, right? So we all know it's going to go up and that it has gone up, but we're doing a lot of our partners are doing donations, and you know, they're cutting costs on a lot of things as you know they're donating to us. So they're working on that. So like AKS, you know, we're working with them. They're donating a lot of their time. Blackmore Planning, he's you know donating a portion. And then a lot of our subcontractors, you know, we've discussed with them. But so that is a general answer to your specific question, I understand. But we are aware this is outdated, but running it past Greg and AKS and everybody that we're working with, they said it was pretty still-ish okay for this purpose. That, I mean, it's going to change every month we're going to do it. So I'm happy to have them do a new one if that would be helpful. Just let me know.
Thank you very much. And Chair, I see that we have potentially public comment in the chat. I'm not quite sure.
I see
the source
one
from that.
chat. Yes, and I told Kathy she would be next.
I'll be real quick.
Yes, and we have about a minute left for our question times, and then I'll check the chat. Thank you, Ian, for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns about this, but I just want to say, Copa, I'm glad that you're stepping up to the plate and really trying to do this and take responsibility and all that good stuff that goes with it. There's just a lot of unknowns. And so I'm just going to ask something really simple. Could you just outline what changes you made based on the neighborhood meetings? I'm of the age group that I've heard some negative comments from neighbors, and I just want to feel good that there's neighborhood buy-in. And so if you could just tell us a little bit more about what changes were made in order to respond to neighborhood concerns.
So the first one about a year ago, I know they had specific concerns on parking and noise, the railroad tracks. So I know we put up some barriers, or we're planning to put up some barriers, remove some lots to have more parking. There's going to be some road connection changes that that were requested. So that was from the first one about a year ago. This last one a couple days ago, it seemed to me the main concerns from the neighbors were they kept bringing up that they were unsure of the type of person that were going to be in these houses. So that seemed their main concern. And our response to that is these are working families. These are our yoga instructors, our teachers. Like, these are not, we didn't feel comfortable with that at all, because this is for our community. These are for literally everybody that, we're working with. So I think having reminded them that this is, it's 78,000, for a family of 4, that's a lot of money. And everybody's still falling underneath that. So this isn't, these aren't thieves and, terrible.
You get the usual comments. I got it. So but your circulation and parking were reasonable things to consider and change is what I'm hearing. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to hear that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. And then with regard to the chat, I have Lynn or Rachel addressing those questions that are coming via the chat.
So thank you, Cindy. This is Lynn McConnell, the Affordable Housing Manager for the city. We typically do not take questions from the public during this time. The time for that is at the beginning of the meeting. I would be more than happy to follow up with you via email if you would like to. My email address is on the website on the Affordable Housing page. But I think that what you may be asking is, how can the public support this project? In which case, I'd love to hear Mandy's answer for that.
I'm sorry, can you?
I think the question may be, how can the public help you with this project and help move the project forward?
That's a great, I rarely hear the positive. Thank you. Just the support, basically, just as Kathy was saying, she hears some negative comments, just reminding everybody that this is one of our main goals. This is a huge thing that the city we have to accommodate this, and we have to step up and do this. So we've been working on this for years and years and years. We need to move this forward for everybody's sake, and we are passionate about it, and we need everybody else to understand this is for the betterment of our community, and this is for our neighbors and our friends. And so I think just like the main thing is getting the word out that this is a positive thing. This isn't something we're bringing in somebody's backyard that they're going to hate. This is for our community members, and this is for the betterment of the community. That's just the biggest thing that we're trying to get across there. And it's I feel like there's a big misconception, and so we're just any community support, reminding people of the facts on that is helpful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that clarification. Now, just real quickly, Kathy, I see your hand raised on the Zoom. Did you have another question, or is that just from the prior?
That's from the prior. I apologize.
No problem. No problem. And then Allison, I see your hand raised, the blue hand. Did you have a question?
I do, real quick, please.
Awesome.
Just in terms of funding sources, I was a little confused. It looks like the total cost from 2016, and we know that'll go up a little bit, was 2.2. and in the budget form, it says there is a secured amount of private funds in the amount of 705. Is that still secured? And then you also just need an additional 1 million, it sounds like, or thereabouts to move forward. Is that correct?
The 705, that was the donation part from the Ward family for the land.
Okay.
So that was in the original thing. That is not including our infrastructure costs.
Okay. So there's so the budget form, it doesn't total 2.2, and I was just trying to figure out where the remainder was going to come from. And I think you addressed that earlier, that you're not sure. You have some people who've communicated they'll step up, but nothing for sure. Is that correct?
We have for sure. We're just we're waiting on the results of this, to be honest, to see how much we need to beg for donations versus loans versus, all that good stuff to make this go to completion. So, and you'll see in there that we're putting 110 in there for the HUD payback because our time, somebody else said that earlier today, our time is coming very quickly. So we want to, that's going to offset some of the balance sheet not balancing, or the budget sheet not balancing as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I see your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I was misreading that line on the budget form. So of the 185 ask that we're being asked for, 110 of it would actually be to pay back HUD. Is that because of a time expiration on an item from HUD? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
I can clarify. They had a CDBG
Rachel, thank you.
for this proposal. You have 5 years to meet that national objective in CDBG, and their 5-year deadline is approaching.
Yeah, I follow that. I think this is the first time that I recall in my time on the committee that AHAC money is being used to refund another source of funding that's expiring in this way. So it is just new to me.
Thank you so much. Okay, I am taking a quick glance. I don't see any other hands raised. I don't want to miss anyone. We're doing pretty good on time. We're running a little long, so I thank you for your patience. We've got a couple of things left on the agenda. I believe next, we ended up with some unfinished business from the prior meeting relating to the motion relating with Core Community Land Trust. And the question is the adoption of the motion of a change of use of 2019 affordable housing funds awarded to Core Community Land Trust from down payment assistance for a possible second purchase to down payment assistance for the initial home purchases. And we've allotted some time for Amy Warren to provide some additional explanation to us, because if you recall at the last meeting, there were many questions by the committee. So Amy, if you could take the floor, and thank you for additional explanation on this for the committee to review.
Thanks, Cindy. Yes, and I apologize again for last time, probably bringing way too much information to the board. So I just made a slide to simplify it. Our current use is down payment assistance for subsequent cornerstone sales, which we haven't had our first ones yet, so those do not exist. And we're requesting to use that for then first time down payment assistance. Next slide, please. So I did a breakdown of how the homes are being sold and what subsidies are going into them. So each of the 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes are selling for $274,000. For our 4 affordable homes, the average first mortgage that makes it affordable without the home buyer being cost burdened is $169,000. As everyone knows, this may change after final qualification happens, depending on interest rates, credit, any changes in income from the home recipient, etc. So the balance to cover by subsidy for each of those homes is $105,000, and the line just down below talks about how we're meeting that. If we receive the additional $50,000 in down payment assistance, that will give us about $37,500 to go towards each home purchase. And then we are matching that in excess with a different sort of down payment assistance or permanent subsidy. The permanent subsidy is a zero interest silent loan. It lasts the life of the ownership of the home, so it doesn't become due at year 30 or any of that, but it is due when the home sells again. So I hope that makes it a little bit more clear with what we were requesting from last time, and I can answer more questions if you guys have them. Great, let's open it up for questions. Does anyone have any additional questions for Amy? Thanks for being patient. I'm scrolling through my screen. Here we go. I don't see any hands raised. I don't want to miss anyone. Matt, did you have your hand raised? Okay, thank you, Matt.
No, I just have a question for Chair, maybe Lynn or Rachel. The previous motion to approve the change from subsequent use to initial use, is that still in effect, or are we going to have to make a new motion to approve? Yeah.
Great question. Unless Elizabeth is paying attention and able to unmute herself quickly, my suggestion is we kind of start afresh so that it's not, I just feel like that might be cleaner, even though there is an existing motion out there.
Okay. I move to approve these funds to be utilized for initial use down payment assistance from their originally proposed use of subsequent usage.
And I'll second again.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Thank you, Matt. Any additional discussion or questions from the committee?
Excuse me, who was the second?
I believe it was Kathy, but I could be wrong. I think there were many people that seconded, but Kathy was the first one I heard.
Well, I had seconded originally before, so
Correct.
it kind of keeps it simplified if it's Matt and me. And anyway, I just wanted to second it. So.
It's a hybrid Kathy Ian second, so we can call it a Ian second.
All right, I'm looking, any additional discussion or questions on the motion? All right, well, I don't see any additional hands raised for discussion, so we will take a vote. And since we're still on screen, those in favor of the motion, please say aye when I call your name, and then Kathy will make that for the record. All right, Priscilla Buck. And you'll have to unmute yourselves.
Aye.
Aye, thank you, Priscilla. Matt Martino.
Aye.
Keith Wooden.
I'll abstain.
Okay. Kathy Austin.
Aye.
Ian Schmidt.
Aye.
Allison Hohengarten.
I think I need to abstain as well.
Thank you. Joanna Gardner.
Aye.
Heather Simmons.
Aye.
I think that is everyone. I think that is everyone. I believe there's no one left for opposed, so I say the motion passes if that is a correct assertion.
Cindy, how did you vote?
Oh, aye, I'm sorry. Thank you, Kathy. I'm starting to get hangry. It's real. Thank you so much, Amy, for taking the extra time to clarify that. It's very, very helpful.
Thank you guys. You know, we really couldn't have done this project without this committee's, you know, support. And I'm so excited and so proud to be able to show it to you guys when it's finished pretty soon. So thank you.
We're all looking forward to seeing it. Trust me on that. Yes, that'll be very exciting.
Yeah,
very exciting. So Lynn, what's next is the staff report, but did we want to take this moment to segue and pat someone on the back? Can I go ahead and do that? I got the thumbs up. So for those of you on this committee, I just want to give a big shout out to Councillor Livingston and what he's done to support affordable housing in Bend during his tenure. He started on AHAC in 2015. And while serving on this committee, Justin worked to remove the conditional use permit on ADUs, helping create the cottage code, allow for duplexes on corner lots. We're all going to kind of go down memory lane here. It's amazing all the things that he's done. He helped create an SDC exemption for affordable housing, implemented the floor area ratio for ADUs, and created a height bonus and parking reduction for affordable housing. Those are a few things he did. And then he was elected to City Council in 2017. And he's been our liaison during his tenure, and I've greatly appreciated his input. His accomplishments from this point forward continue on. He helped align the comprehensive plan and the zoning map. That's essential for anything to kind of make sense from a planning standpoint. Justin also helped reduce open space requirements for multifamily when it was near a park, allowing multifamily units to be more affordable. He also helped create a full exemption of SDCs for affordable housing, and he helped create additional staffing for affordable housing, which is fantastic. And I think we could use more staffing. That's just my personal opinion. Justin also shepherded the core area project, including significant code changes and creation of a TIF district. Justin, I mean, I'm going on and on. He helped pursue the HB 4079 pilot, helping reduce sizes for plexes and create a goal of 4 plexes in RS zones. Justin's also helped allowing several housing types and countless code amendments to remove barriers to make Bend a little more development friendly. I would just like to extend a huge thank you to Councillor Justin for the work he's done and the big impact you've helped make on our community. We're super sorry to lose you as a council representative, and you've left some big shoes to fill. And we wish you the best in your next steps, and hopefully you will feel free to join our meetings in the future as your time allows. We just can't thank you enough and just really appreciate all your efforts.
Well, thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. I'm not normally one to like accolades for myself, but it was definitely a team effort. You know, everybody that serves on this committee today, everybody that was serving back on the committee when I was on it in 2015 played a huge role in all of those things. You know, including Lynn and Rachel, and we can never forget Jim Long, who really, you know, was the pioneer of Bend's affordable housing program in general. You know, and people like Andy High and Greg Blackmore and Richard. Richard just got off the committee recently. I got to enjoy 2 years with him as well on the committee. So I really appreciate that. And but know that it's a team effort, and I know you guys will continue that, and you know, Bend will be a better place because of your efforts.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, with that, Lynn, would you like to do the staff report?
Yeah, we're going to keep it really short tonight.
That's
Justin, just thank you for all you've done from staff. It's amazing to think of sort of what Bend would look like without your contributions to housing and to affordable housing. And I can't imagine what it would look like without you. So moving on, Juniper Ridge code is going to the Planning Commission for hearing on Monday. That doesn't really relate to you all that much, so we're not going to represent at that, but you're welcome to watch it. It's really having to do with the commercial and industrial codes. There is a Human Rights and Equity Commission that Council created recently, and they're recruiting for members. So please feel free to send folks their way. You should be able to find that information on the committee page on City of Bend's website. And then ongoing trainings for our online permit center. So you all know there's been a blackout where folks can't submit anything new to the city. That is being lifted very soon. And soon we will have this wonderful permit system that's gonna make all of our lives a little bit easier. I am really looking forward to it personally, I can tell you that. So they are doing a whole bunch of trainings. And if you look at the calendar page on the City of Bend website, so bendoregon.gov, just scroll on down, you'll see a whole bunch of calendar listings and you can click through and figure out when the trainings are if that is of interest to you. So please do that if you think you would like to find out more. Pretty much all of our permits are public record, so you can look up what's happening down the street from you if you so choose, or you can actually use it for good work purposes and trying to research properties and figuring out what's going on. So please feel free to get oriented to the online permit center, and we'll be going live with that pretty soon. That is all I have. Thank you all for a great meeting and for sticking around a little longer. And you'll get some more excellent reading material for the holidays coming your way pretty soon.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Barb.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if there is no additional business, I don't see anyone raising their hand with any additional. Ian, did you want to say something? I'll put you on the spot. No? All right. Well, if there's no additional business, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.